My entire job is about finding the signal in the noise. You see, as a systems biology consultant, companies hand me these enormous, just chaotic data sets. Think gene expression, protein interactions, metabolic pathways. And my task is to find the story, the coherent signal that connects it all. Usually, the system I'm looking at is a single organism. But today, today the system is reality itself.
So what if we approached reality like the ultimate systems biology problem? That's the big question we're diving into here. We're going to chase a signal that seems, unbelievably, to connect the very fabric of matter with some of the most ancient and esoteric descriptions of the soul. Let's take a look at the data we're working with.
Okay, here are our data sets. On the left, you see my world, systems biology, where we search for functional subnetworks, little pockets of logic, hidden in mountains of gene data. We're going to apply that exact same thinking here. Our first data stream comes from quantum physics, and it suggests that matter isn't a solid thing at all, but a stable resonance, like a standing wave. Our second stream? That's from ancient Gnostic texts, which describe the soul as a being of light with its own unique vibrational signature. Our job, then, is to find the subnetwork, the shared logic that could possibly connect these two completely different worlds.
Right, so our first real clue, it doesn't come from looking up at the stars, but by looking at the smallest things imaginable, the electron. For 100 years, we've basically pictured it as a tiny little ball, a point, mostly because that's what we see when we smash things together in particle colliders. But a new way of thinking suggests we might have been looking at it all wrong. So, instead of using brute force, this idea, called quantum semantics, suggests we should, listen to the electron. Imagine gently pinging the fabric of space around it with really specific frequencies, and then just watching how the electron resonates, how it sings back. You know, it's kind of like tapping a crystal glass to hear its unique tone. That tone tells you everything about its internal structure. And this is where it gets really cool. You've probably seen those videos where someone vibrates a metal plate covered in sand, right? The sand magically arranges itself into these beautiful, intricate geometric patterns. Those patterns aren't the sound, but they reveal the invisible structure of the sound wave. Quantum semantics is saying matter is the exact same thing, a stable, geometric pattern of pure energy. An electron isn't a particle, it's a pattern. It's a note in a universal song. Now, let's grab our second data set and see where this goes. And I know, we're making a huge leap here, from cutting-edge theoretical physics straight into second-century mysticism. It might seem like a crazy jump, but you have to hear the language they used. It's shockingly similar. So the Gnostic data point is basically a story, an archetype they called Sophia, or wisdom. It paints this picture of the soul as a pure resonance, a being of light that falls into the noise and chaotic frequencies of the material world. Its whole journey is about forgetting what it is, and the only way back, the only path to salvation, is to remember its original pure vibration. And here it is. This is the crucial bit of data. The key to ascension in these ancient texts is to know your name. But the analysis shows this isn't a word you say. It's your soul's fundamental frequency, its unique personal resonance. A soul that remembers its name literally transforms back into a great light stream, a pure waveform. I mean, come on. The correlation here is it's impossible to ignore. Modern physics starts modeling matter as a waveform, and thousands of years ago, mystics were describing the soul in the exact same language. And this image, this just perfectly captures the shift in perspective we're talking about. For centuries, we've mapped reality like this, a giant clockwork of physical objects moving through physical space. But what if all this new data, from both physics and ancient scripture, is pointing us to a completely different kind of map? A map where the fundamental coordinates aren't location and time, but frequency and resonance. Okay, so this brings us to the mechanism itself, the piece that connects everything. The Rosetta Stone, if you will, that lets us translate between the language of physics and the language of mysticism. This is the one question our whole analysis has to answer. If the soul is a waveform and matter is a resonance, what's the bridge? How does something like pure frequency become, stuff? Physical stuff? It turns out the data points to a very, very specific answer: a single mathematical operation. Now please, don't get hung up on the symbols here. This equation is pulled directly from the quantum kinematics paper. What's absolutely critical is the operation it's describing.
This specific process, the part with that little integral S symbol, is something engineers and physicists use constantly. It has a name, and that name is the key to this whole model. It's a Fourier transform. A Fourier transform is basically a mathematical bridge. It's a universal translator. It takes information from a world of frequencies and waves, and it converts it into a world of space and time, and it can go back again. In our model, this is what the universe uses. It takes the non-physical, frequency-based information of a soul's unique waveform and projects it into the structured, localized pattern that we perceive as physical matter. It's the math of incarnation.
So, as a consultant, when all the data points this strongly toward one single, unified model, you have a duty to present it. And the model that this data suggests, well, it's a complete inversion of how we typically think about reality.
So here it is, the unified model. First, reality is, at its core, a system of resonance. Second, what we call a soul is a unique, complex waveform being broadcast into that system. 3, matter, the physical world, is the 3D projection of that waveform, made manifest through that Fourier bridge. And that leads to the most profound conclusion of all. Consciousness doesn't pop out of the brain. The brain and all matter is organized by consciousness. The resonance pattern is what comes first. It shapes matter around itself.
And this, right here, is the paradigm shift. We're moving away from a matter-first universe, where consciousness is some kind of happy accident of brain chemistry. Instead, we're looking at a consciousness-first universe, where matter is the physical expression of these resonant, conscious waveforms. It changes everything about what we are and where we come from. Which brings us to the final conclusion of this whole analysis. Because this was never just some abstract theory about electrons or ancient manuscripts, it was always a model about us. If this data is pointing in the right direction, then you are not a body that has a soul. You are a resonance that has a body. You're a frequency. You're a song. So the final question is really the only one that matters. What song are you singing?